Good afternoon. I think it's, a couple minutes after. Sorry about a little bit of a delay, but all right, well, I'll talk loud over the top then. It's good to be out here today. It's a little bit of a delay on the way over. I had to wait up behind a little bit of a traffic accident, but we're glad to be here on the way over. I was saying on the way in, it seems a little cold to be thinking about biking today, but literally Tuesday night on the way back from the state address, there was a guy biking on one of the hills on our way over to Maple Bluff. So just about any time in Wisconsin is a time to be thinking about biking as well. And we're glad to be here today. Today, this is one more act that we're signing into law, one more piece of legislation from the special session legislation, jobs plan about putting Wisconsin back to work. For us, it was a series of things that we started out more than 30 days ago on January 3rd, talking about calling a special session to put the people of Wisconsin back to work. And the best thing we could do was put more money back in the hands of our employers and more opportunity in the hands of our employers. And so this is one more step along the way. We've obviously signed several pieces of legislation that allow us to expand the economic development tax credit, to move forward with the relocation tax credit, to lower the cost of doing business when it comes to litigation costs. And now, in the coming days, we'll be signing legislation creating a new Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation, as well as moving forward, hopefully by next week, with new changes when it comes to regulations to make it easier to cut through the not only litigation, but the regulatory process here in the state of Wisconsin. Today, what we're talking about is giving another incentive, particularly for small businesses, when it comes to creating jobs in the state, another tax incentive for small businesses to create jobs. And I'm thrilled to be here today. I'm glad to see a bunch of Packer fans here as well. I've got my tie on the way in. I'm going to switch tomorrow to a jersey and sweatshirt and the whole bit, cheering on tomorrow and getting ready for Sunday's big game. So we're thrilled about that. As I mentioned the other day, my hope is, the one thing that is clear to being Republicans, Democrats, and everybody else together are the Green Bay Packers, and hopefully we can continue to use that unity of focus and purpose and clarity on helping getting the state working again. Before I sign this, I want to particularly thank two lawmakers who helped us throughout the process championing this piece of legislation. State Senator Terry Moulton, who I was with yesterday up in Eau Claire as he represents parts of the Chippewa Valley, and State Representative Robin Boss from Racine County, who obviously also co-chairs the Joint Committee on Finance. We had a tremendous response to this legislation, like just about everything else. This passed with a strong bipartisan vote in both the Assembly and the Senate. 25 out of 33 voted for it in the state Senate. 60 out of 99 voted for it in the state Assembly. So we were pleased to have both Republicans and Democrats alike joining with us as we sought to push forward our jobs agenda. I also want to thank a number of organizations who've helped us along the way. The Wisconsin Builders Association have been active in support of this, the National Federation of Independent Businesses, the Wisconsin Realtors Association, the Wisconsin Restaurant Association, the Dairy Business Association, the Wisconsin Independent Business Association, and many others who, speaking particularly on behalf of the small business owners of this state, understand that giving them more flexibility, in this case more dollars, particularly when they create jobs in their hands, is a great way to get people working again here in the state of Wisconsin. So in a moment, I'm going to join over here and sign away. But before that, I'll take a couple questions from the media, if you guys haven't, at least while I'm standing up here. If you can get the question in between the rhythm there, right?
$300 some dollars. How many jobs do you really think that will create? Is it enough to get a business to hire someone for $20,000 more a year?
I think it is collectively, because it's not just about this tax incentive. It's about lowering the bottom line for doing business in the state. When you add this measure to the fact that you've got other incentives for both expanding and growing businesses here, you add the lower cost when it comes to fewer regulatory costs and litigation costs. When you look at the other things we're going to do, in a couple of weeks we introduce the budget on February 22nd, and we'll be doing even more things that will make it easier, more cost-effective business in the state. I think collectively that will do it. And the other thing people will tell you, particularly you look at retail sales coming out, whether it's cycling equipment or others, A fair amount of the business world is dependent on trends, and our trend in Wisconsin is we're making it easier for businesses to hire people and do business here. Other states are making it more difficult through higher taxes and more regulations. That's one of the sharp contrasts. So I think collectively, when employers look at the total package, not just this part, but the total package, they're going to see great incentives and great enthusiasm. And obviously, I'd never be very far if I didn't bring out the old Wisconsin's Open for Business sticker. But I think, again, this is part of changing the mindset to realize that it's both symbolic but also substantive combined.
Governor, you've got your Green Bay Packers tie.
Yeah.
How did you and your family score the Super Bowl tickets, and when are you leaving?
We're going tomorrow morning. The Green Bay Packers offered, actually the NFL offered an opportunity for me to sit up in the seat with the commissioner. Being a great fan, I appreciated that, but I preferred to sit in the stands with the fans. And so we'll be going, 4 of us plus one other person who's volunteered to staff us there. No funds will be paid for by the taxpayers in terms of our tickets, our transportation, or our hotel accommodations. We'll be leaving tomorrow morning and coming back very early on Monday morning.
So the tickets were provided by the Green Bay Packers?
We paid for them from the Packers, correct. The Packers have an allotment, and we paid for them. So the Packers didn't pay for them. They offered them as part of their allotment, just as they did for the mayor of Green Bay and others. And we thought, as the not only the CEO of the state, but the chief cheerleader for Wisconsin, it would afford us an opportunity not only to be at the game, but tomorrow through the day on Sunday, we're going to be reaching out, meeting with business leaders from across the country to sell to them what we're talking about here today, the fact that Wisconsin's open for business.
Commerce Secretary Jaden going as well?
Yeah, he actually took care of it before I even got my tickets on his own, and is paying for them on his own as well, and he'll be down there. What you find interesting is not only for Pennsylvania and Wisconsin, but as an example, the governor of Indiana and his team, Mitch Daniels, and other governors are going to be down there making their case, because that's where corporate America is throughout the weekend. We're going to be making that same case. We obviously didn't leave as early as some have done to take advantage of all the other festivities. For us, it's really about supporting the Packers and making the case that Wisconsin's open for business, and this is one more focal point that we can do it on. It's a good thing.
Governor, how's this week's ruling on federal health care law? How's it affecting the implementation of the law in the state?
Well, certainly for those of us who's raised concerns legally about the federal health care mandate, it's one more sign that I think our argument when it was first passed is valid, but it's going to take us a while to weed all that out and figure out. Certainly it's an affirmative decision in terms of those of us who believe the federal government does not have a legal right to impose health care mandates on Wisconsin families and Wisconsin businesses. But in terms of implementation, you know, I've been working since before taking office, but particularly since January 3rd, on trying to provide a free market alternative, a free market-driven alternative to health care reform here at the state level. We've been a leader in the 90s on welfare and education reform. I think we can be a leader on health care reform, providing a true free market-driven alternative that actually I think is going to be better for the people of Wisconsin. No, the Attorney General told me on Tuesday what his reaction was to the ruling and made us aware of that, but he has not advised us as to what the state should be doing in terms of the administration or implementation of that. Again, from our standpoint, we were advised of that. We appreciated that. But for us, it really hasn't caused us to change course. We want a free market alternative. As Department of Health Services Secretary Dennis Smith testified a week and a half ago before Congress, the plan will actually cover fewer people under the President's federal health care mandate than we cover right now under our plans in Wisconsin, and it will actually cost the majority of citizens more for less coverage under the federal health care mandate than what we have in Wisconsin. We want to provide a viable alternative not only for Wisconsin, but we think a viable example nationally of how you can provide quality, cost-affordable health care options for our people and for our small businesses without mandating it through the federal government. Yeah, we put forward a series of proposals, legislative proposals in our special session package. The wind component was part of a larger package on regulatory reform, which looks likely to be passed and sent to me last week. Along the way, we've had some modifications. The legislature saw fit to deal with that separately, and we'll pursue action with the legislature outside of the special session. But again, I want to see wind industry, like every other industry, be able to be effective here in the state of Wisconsin. I just want to find a way to balance that with the needs of individual property rights in the state as well. For us, we'll have to look at what the options are, what we could do, potentially do as creating that balance to the rules, but it may very well be likely it's something we do through the legislative process, through a specific bill. But again, I think what we'll do is spend some time, now that that's removed from the special session package, find a way to bring a diverse group of interests together so that we can still have a healthy wind industry in the state, but at the same time protect the rights of individual property owners and those that have property right issues in the state. Well, it wasn't a separate bill to begin with. It was part of the larger regulatory package. The legislature saw fit to separate that off. We were fine with that. Just as on this bill and several others, we work with the legislature through modifications. My larger interest was in getting the large-scale regulatory relief in place, and that'll happen presumably next week when we get the other vote taking place. But on this and other issues that the legislature modified somewhat, we'll find a way to work with them on the future.
You're signing today. How do you feel like it fits in the scheme of the 9 bills that you dealt with? Most important, I mean, you know, it's the one.
No, I think it's a package. I mean, I think for us it's a state of mind. It's kind of what I mentioned before in that there's no one bill that's going to make or break the business climate in this state. What it is collectively a series of actions that show both in style but more importantly in substance that Wisconsin's headed in the right direction, that for small businesses, for employers, for entrepreneurs in this state who want to grow and expand here, that the Wisconsin government gets it. And they get it that to put more power back in the hands of employers and the people with the entrepreneurial spirit in this state is really ultimately the way to go. And so collectively, it's showing that, you know, in less time than I originally had hoped. I challenged the legislature to do it in the first 45 days. Really 30 days in, we've passed the majority of the special session jobs planned agenda, and the last few bits will be completed by next week. I think that sends a tremendous sign when the rest of the country is still trying to figure out what they're going to do next, or not next, what they're going to do to begin with. We're leading the way yet again here in Wisconsin. I think it sends a great sign to employers.
Timeline on the budget repair bill?
Within the next 2 weeks, a budget repair bill will come out. We're spending some more time the next couple days. That's why I'm really not going to be gone except for the weekend, because I need to work all throughout today and be back at it again on Monday, putting some of the last touches on a budget repair bill and to be ready for the 22nd date deadline for the budget bill itself. But within the next 2 weeks, we'll have a budget repair bill out, and then obviously right after that, the budget bill itself.
Wrapped in together?
No, it'll be a separate piece of legislation, but you can be confident that what we do in the budget repair bill will be very much interlocked into what we're going to do in our proposal for the next 2 years in the state budget.
Governor, what happened to the wind bill?
That's the one that Mr. Marley was talking about.
Well, how do you feel about taking Packers tickets at the base price?
I mean, for us, we're paying for them, bottom line. So with that, we're going to sign them. Thanks. Do it often enough. Now, it's kind of nice after 5 in, right? And I don't have to forget the date of the Super Bowl, because it's my wedding anniversary, so it's a pretty good deal. Yeah. You know, the election was on my birthday, the Super Bowl's on my anniversary. It's not a bad deal.
So which anniversary is this?
It's the 18th.
Good, you knew that right up top. Man, that's bad.
My wife, on the other hand, always has to.
Right, you
the
kind
date
of go
again?
back and.
Yeah, I said, hey, wait a minute. Right down to the left. I get it. Excellent, thank you.
That'll put my office right on the desk. That'd be perfect.
You're going to be with us next week, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much, guys.
Sure, yeah, yeah.
you. Okay. Got them all? Great. Great.
Where's our? Yeah, thank you. Hey, Plow, and I said this is just Act 1. We're not done yet.
Well, let's get fast.